with the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report for Wednesday, January 11, 2023. Happy New Year, everybody. Can you help combat anti-Semitism in public school curriculum? Well, yes. Yes, you can. Being a part of the democratic process is something you may have been encouraged to do since your early days in elementary school when you first had to study U.S. democracy and how it works. The study of civics in schools certainly has morphed in the last 30 years or more. A pride in U.S. exceptionalism and a reverence for constitutional processes seem to be waning in favor of constant criticism, racial division, and guilt. In the past 3 years or so, since parents began seeing and hearing their children's lessons when relegated to at-home learning via Zoom, the biases and agendas of progressive curriculums and suspect textbook review process have manifested. Parents are speaking up. Being concerned about anti-Semitism within our public schools curricula is not just a concern for parents of school-aged children or for Jewish students and families. This is something that must concern us all. Zion Netanyahu, a founding member of the nation of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu's father, published frequently in the last century and forecasted the Holocaust in as early as the 1930s. He noted in 1933 that hatred and discrimination against Jews is not just a Jewish problem. It is a problem for all freedom-loving societies, and it has demonstrated a hatred for humanity. He also recognized over a century ago that this danger exists not just in fascist regimes, but communist regimes and every other form of tyranny. Several state governors and departments of education, including in Florida and Tennessee, have taken the task of fully reviewing textbooks page by page and learning objectives, we call them SOLs or Standards of Learning in Virginia, and the goal, among other things, is to identify and purge content that minimizes the Jewish experience, lumps all Jews into the identity of white and privileged, and vilifies or otherwise undermines the modern state of Israel to exist. The examination also addresses the accuracy of the narrative and depiction of historical events in the Middle East in the last 100 or more years. These standards to undermine Israel are aligned with the agenda to delegitimize capitalism, meritocracy, and even U.S. exceptionalism. Public school curricular review is a monumental undertaking, and it is one that's supposed to be public. The public must take responsibility to engage. Virginia's Department of Education within the Youngkin administration is dedicated to the task of examining the state's public school curriculum and reversing error, bias, lazy textbook approvals, and lesson plans that undermine the mission and goals of what used to be a premier public school system. Governor Youngkin directed the state board to create a best-in-nation history and social science standards which teach all of history, the good and the bad, and prepare every graduate to be an informed member of our democracy and communities. The proposed standards meet this goal. On January 5, the SOLs for history in the Commonwealth of Virginia were revised and published to the public for review and eventual adoption by the Board of Education. These standards of learning are completely accessible to the public via the department's website. The mandatory review period is also open, meaning citizens can review and question and address concepts in these SOLs. The Virginia Department of Education made significant additions to strengthen the content and framing of the standards, including but not limited to the following: strengthening the robust study of civics throughout all grades, incorporating the recommendations from the Antisemitism Commission on the teaching of Judaism, the Holocaust, and the creation of Israel, enhancing the coverage of state and national symbols and locations that honor and foster patriotism, including additional coverage of Federalists 10 and 51, the importance of freedom of enterprise to democracy, and the importance of an unbiased press, additional references to African American experiences during and after the Reconstruction, requiring students to describe the differences between communism and a democratic nation. More specifically, in our focus as Christians and Zionists, these revised SOLs incorporate the recommendations from the Anti-Semitism Commission on the teaching of Judaism, the Holocaust, and the creation of Israel. The goal in publishing these SOLs is that the Board of Education will accept this draft for first review. After they do so, the typical process of public comment sessions will follow in the months of February and March. After any appropriate feedback is incorporated into the standards, they are then presented to the board for final review and acceptance. That's projected to happen in about March or April. From the acceptance of the SOLs, the actual learning frameworks can then be generated. Frameworks are the actual lesson plans, processes for bringing the learning objectives to the classroom in age-appropriate lectures, activities, and reading, including those textbook choices. This process in Virginia is not unique to Virginia. No matter what state you live in, Minnesota's curriculum is seriously flawed. That could use a look. Visit your state and local boards of education website and research the timetables for textbook purchases, public access, and the opportunity to review the curriculum, including those objectives and standards. Learn how your voice and your dedication to freedom, fairness, and truth can be reflected in the process of educating all the children in your state, even if you don't have school-aged children yourself. Shavua Tov, and have a great week.